am a third generation potato farmer, and I grew up outside of Wendell, Idaho, population 1,000. It's like Vegas, but different. And we're going to go right to the next one. Let's talk about you. You are a storyteller. You wouldn't be in this group if you weren't a storyteller. And I can't wait to hear more of your stories. And I was intrigued today by your speaking talent. And I'm going to learn from you, and I hope you can learn from me. Now let's take that a step farther. Go from storyteller to author. We haven't had many speaking gigs this year. How many of you have a speaker's page? Raise your hand. I have a speaker's page on my website, elaineambrose.com. I have no speeches coming up. I have nothing on the calendar. Because of COVID, we've had to adapt. And so I adapted and took a class, and obviously didn't know how to do it, but now I do. But since we don't have speaking gigs right now, write that book. And when we open up again, you can have a book to sell at the end of your speech and sell it at the back of the room for a full retail price. I know there are some speaking opportunities coming up. The Irma Bombeck Writers Workshop is looking for speakers for the 2022 conference. And I have been a speaker at this, and it's a wonderful opportunity. They treat you like royalty, pick you up at the airport, put you in the hotel, pay you a stipend, and you speak about humor. So check out the Irma Bombeck, because they have a call for speakers right now, and it's closing April 1st. But that is a wonderful opportunity. It looks great on the resume, and you meet wonderful people from all over the world at this conference. It's in Dayton, Ohio. People want to read your story. Now, if you turned that around and said, nobody wants to read my story, you would be correct. It's when you believe that somebody wants to read what you write, then you carry that passion and that belief into your writing. And yes, you're a storyteller because you're in this group, the Storytellers, Toastmasters. But take it a step farther and write that story. Take your best stories, the ones that get the most applause, the most jazz hands, and the best attention, and start writing your story. And believe that people want to read it, because they do. First, you have to decide what's your message. And this might be hard to narrow it down, but you can't be all things to all people. You might take some notes here. Which one of these topics piques your imagination right now, what you want to write about? Humor and entertainment, motivation and inspiration, activate and instigate, or inform without bias. And by that, I mean how to change a tire, how to sew a hem. I mean, you're just giving straight information without any activation. Or target specific audience. I write humor for middle-aged women. I write children's books, and I have written a memoir. So decide your audience and decide your message and go from there. Organize, outline, and opine. Everybody says they can write a book. No, you have to know the mechanics on what to do. And as speakers and writers, we're creative people. And it's difficult to take that technical part, the organized part, but we need to research and read similar books. What books do you like? I appreciate Peter's suggestion today of that book, and I'm definitely going to get it. List why yours is unique. There are millions of books on Amazon and in bookstores and online. How are you going to stand out? What story have you given to the Storytelling Toastmasters group that everybody likes and they want it repeated and they want you to tell it again and again? That's what you start with. Outline your chapter titles and think of some topics you want to put in. I use a long board and I list the different chapters and the titles and then what I'm going to put in each chapter. so I can start to write by chapter. A chapter usually has about 5,000 words, a book about 60,000. So if you start a chapter at a time, you're taking a chunk out and you can work on that. You don't have to start at the beginning, you can start in the middle. Just start anywhere you're comfortable and can start writing. Write those oral stories and speeches and use the active voice and hire a professional editor. I have a book out where I mentioned the dairy of Anne Frank. Terrible mistake. It was not picked up by an editor. So now on my books, I have 2 or 3 professional editors read and try and find the mistakes. And you'll be glad that you didn't make that mistake and have it published. Start a blog. How many have a blog? If you have a blog, keep writing. It's free, it's easy. There are many online resources that will help you start your blog so you can build a platform, get noticed, get known through Toastmasters and beyond. I was researching the Toastmasters magazine. They have excellent ideas, great suggestions for doing writing on a blog, publications, magazine feature articles, and the best thing, you can use those posts for a book. This is my book, Midlife Cabernet. It's still a bestseller after 7 years. And basically half of it are blog posts that I wrote. And a blog post is a writing prompt. If you can write 500 words for a blog post, then you collect those and move them into a book. It works, and it works well. Be creative. List ways that you are unique. And I mentioned this a little bit before. What sets you apart from all the Toastmasters, from all the speakers, from all the writers in the world? Why does somebody want to pick up what you write? Why does somebody want to get to know you through your storytelling? Describe how your stories are vibrant. How can you add sizzle? Because you have to when your book is going to be on a shelf with millions of others. Be creative with your covers. I think it's true you can judge a book by its cover. These are all covers that are on Amazon right now. 2 of them are not mine. If you'll notice when you do a book cover, make sure you have a large object so it'll show up in a thumbnail. The thumbnail is the smaller picture that they have on Amazon or in publications or in the newspaper or magazines. So on my books, the 2 on the left, I have a large object that can be readily identified. Midlife Happy Hour has an hourglass full of wine. You know that it's going to be a humorous book about middle-aged women. The second one, it has a skeleton's hand holding a glass of wine, and it's drinking with dead women writers. And again, that tells the audience exactly what's in that book. The other 2 books I saw on Amazon, I don't know what they're about. I will never know because I'm not going to buy them. These covers are horrible. So be sure that you invest in a professional designer and think about what cover are you going to have on your book. I've been published 3 ways. Traditional was Menopause Sucks. I'll bet most of the gentlemen in this group haven't read this book, but I had an agent and a New York publishing company, and I had a $10,000 advance. I self-published. I started a company called Mill Park Publishing, and I published my children's books and some others. And we'll talk about the advantages of that. Hybrid, I did my memoir as a hybrid, and that was through Brown Book Publishing. Let's go through the 3 ways. Traditional publishing, it's difficult to secure an agent. It can take years. And I had a second agent one time, and she left the business. It's a very difficult, competitive business. It takes years to publish. It's limited income. Once the royalties paid, if the book doesn't make any money, it's done. And they don't provide any money for marketing or book signing events. But it does add prestige if you can get a national contract. So you have to decide which of these 3 options you want to pursue. Self-publish. You control everything. I control the format, the cover, the cost, where I'm going to publish it, and there's a better income when you self-publish. I made more money on self-publishing than the other time. There is a limited distribution when you self-publish. Most of us go through KDP on Amazon. You have to be on Amazon. And then unless you want to drive around to all the independent bookstores in the country, but you could start locally with your independent bookstores. But self-publishing sometimes isn't taken seriously in the major bookstores. And there are millions of self-published books out there. A hybrid company, which I've used for 3 books, it's called Brown Books Publishing. And you share the costs and the income. They have better distribution. They can get me in Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, schools, and libraries. So consider these 3 options as you begin to write and want to get published. I want you to consider your timeline. Today, you could start writing a book. The year is going to pass anyway. And next year at this time, you'll wonder, should I have started that book? Or you'll have a book. You could take 4 months to do the first draft, 6 months to edit and rewrite, format and package. And again, I suggest professional help. I have contract editors and book packagers that put it together for me because I can't. And then in 1 year, you could have a book. The best thing about a book, after you give a speech, those of you who've had paid speeches, you know that if there's a book at the back of the room after the speech, that's where you can make money and sell at full retail. Enjoy this journey. I know we've had a strange year, but we've had time to write, to reflect, to improve our storytelling, and to think of different stories that we want to tell. Tell stories about the past year, how you survived. No, we're not getting those live audiences where we can look right in their face and see their eyes and see their body language and know if they're with us or not. So we learn how to do the Zoom. And as you can see, I'm learning along with you. It's taken me a while to get to know all the ins and outs of it. I'd like to hear from you. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My website is elaineambrose.com, and please contact me. You can write me at my email, and I promise to write back. And I want you to write down right now, what's your deadline? When are you going to start your book? When are you going to write your stories? And if you don't want to do a book, maybe you do a publication or a pamphlet or a blog. You can have it just for your family and friends. You can have it just for Toastmasters, or you could have it for the world. And you have to believe that your story matters and that your journey matters, and what you write will be important and it will be read. And if you don't believe that, it won't happen. So I encourage you to start writing today. If you put a couple hours every day into writing, first thing in the morning or late at night. I'm a late night writer, but a lot of people like to get up first thing and start writing. Make that a commitment for 4 months. Try it for 4 months and start the outline, start the chapters, pick your best stories, and decide if you're going to be humor or fact or inspirational, or are you going to lead a charge to change the world? That's what you can write about. And the book that Peter mentioned is so good for that. And I am going to stop my sharing, stop my slides, and thank you for being patient with me. I'm learning along with everybody. It's so easy to get up and give a speech, and to write a speech, and to talk with my audience, but with the technical stuff. And I just showed you that, yeah, it happens, but I kept going, and I appreciate your help. I would like to open it up for questions. I can see here on my chat if you have any questions on publishing and how I can inspire and motivate you to keep going. I like how you give each other encouragement and feedback and the hands. Why don't some of you try to write one of your stories?